5 Subtle Ways to Persuade and Influence Others by Kevin Kruse. How can you plant an idea in someone else's head without being obvious about it? What are some easy ways you can persuade others, whether at work or at home? To many people, the word persuasion carries a negative connotation. It typically evokes images like that of a disingenuous used car salesman who slaps you on the back and pretends to be your best friend, or perhaps worse, some cult leader trying to build his flock. But author Patrick King argues in his new book, Persuasion Tactics, Covert Psychology Strategies to Influence, Persuade, and Get Your Way Without Manipulation, that persuasion is a facet of everyday life. There will rarely be consensus on anything you want in life, whether that's a pay raise at work, a lower price on a new home, or even where to go to dinner on Friday night. Persuasion is the key to anything that isn't 100% agreement in your life, which is, of course, most of the things around you. Essentially, it's the ability to get what you want in life and occasionally get others to do what you want as a nice side benefit. So how can you be persuasive in a subtle way that takes advantage of natural human psychology and that doesn't make us feel sleazy or manipulative? King offers 5 subtle yet effective persuasion tactics. Give a shortcut by alluding to others. This technique is a form of invoking social proof which reduces one's decision fatigue. King suggests it is as easy as talking about how other people made the same decision when they were in the other person's shoes. If you don't have someone specific, you can feel free to use a loose term such as many people, or even make an assumptive statement such as, I'm sure they would. An example would be, most people with small children always buy a minivan with a third row seating, because even if they don't have 1 or 2 kids, they know they'll be carpooling with a lot of others in the neighborhood. Just last week, his technique was used on me. When I told a senior editor at a major publishing house that I was going to get an agent for my next book, he said, Kevin, in my experience, most authors who have direct access to editors skip the agent so they can save 15% agent fee. It didn't work this time, but I had previously sold him a manuscript directly without going through a competitive bid. King says that we all suffer from decision fatigue, so when we are given a shortcut, many other people have looked at this same issue, weighed the pros and cons, and gone my way, you should too, we are more likely to agree. Keep it simple. Whenever you want to persuade people to do, make sure it's easy to digest, understand, and as simple as possible. The reason? We're lazy and confuse easily. King references studies that found that people felt far more confident when they had to make 2 arguments versus 6 arguments. Conversely, things that appear complex and complicated feel untrustworthy because we can't understand them immediately, and that it's possibly they are hiding something in the complexities. This is the science behind memorable slogans and catchphrases. There aren't many ways that are longer than 3 or 4 words. There aren't many that are longer than 3 or 4 words. It's even hard to read. Hopefully you can tell it's wrong. Anyone who has ever worked for me for any period of time knows that one of my mantras is only give 3 reasons to buy. Even though I've been in the business of selling complex million-dollar projects to Fortune 500 companies, no matter how long the proposal itself was, I always insisted that page 1 included the top 3 reasons our solution was the best. I was always battling salespeople who wanted to stack the features and benefits higher and higher. I knew that if you had the right reasons, 3 were enough. Control the frame. In 2014, in Central Park in New York City, an old merchant set up a small table and offered black and white spray art canvases. Many people stopped and looked, but only 3 people bought anything. After all, they were very expensive at $60 a piece. The next day, it was revealed that all of the work was actually by legendary artist Banksy. Each piece was actually worth, and indeed sold for at auction, over $120,000. When people viewed Bansky's art in an open-air stand, they didn't think it was worth $60. But when it was viewed in a museum surrounded by a museum frame, and it was known that it was created by Banksy, suddenly the perceived value of the object soared. The frame, the perceived context, matters more than the art itself. King suggests that one way we can do this is to create a frame of superior knowledge. We need to come from a place of expertise when our idea or position is challenged. We should act with disbelief and shock that the other side isn't accepting our position at face value. This is ethos. It's this display of massive confidence that can lead others to think, wow, he's really sure about that. Wait, am I wrong? Praeterio. This is the humble brag of persuasion world. Praeterio is a Latin term for calling attention to something but seemingly to disregard it. King says this is the low road for masquerading as the high road. Portirio sounds like, I'm not going to do you the indignity of bringing up when you were arrested. You've suffered enough from that. By virtue of saying that you won't bring something up, you've brought it up. It's a little sneaky and underhanded, but it also gives you the plausible deniability, which means that people won't be able to call out exactly what you're doing because you're phrasing it in the high road manner. Donald Trump used this masterfully during the debates with Hillary Clinton. Immediately after one of the debates, he brought up Bill Clinton's affair with Monica Lewinsky by saying on TV, I was going to hit her with the husband's woman, and I decided I shouldn't because her daughter was in the room. He brought it up by saying he didn't say it. Embrace the status quo. How can you plant an idea in someone else's head without being obvious about it? If you were to suggest that someone to do something, the other person might not do it, even if it's the best course of action for them. The reason for this is called reactance. We like to have the illusion that free will and autonomy, which means it can be hard for people to take suggestions. If you wanted to plant an idea of vacationing at the beach, you might say to your partner, I'm glad we're going to do a staycation this summer. I mean, it would have been really nice to unplug and relax at the beach for a week, but I'm looking forward to getting that garage cleaned up finally. In a nutshell, you're talking around the idea, staying positive and mentioning the benefits. Most importantly, you're embracing the downsides, which ensures that there is zero pressure or expectation on the other person. You're saying that you're happy with the status quo, but just thinking out loud. To learn more about how to persuade others or how to make sure others aren't persuading you, check out Persuasion Tactics by Patrick King.